Sitting in front of me right now, we have Jennifer Raymond and Jenny Smith from Derby College, who are maths expert. We'll talk more about how expert they are in the maths field. Also, Tara Manning from Chaddesden, who is an adult maths learner. We'll be hearing from her experiences too. I'll come to you, Jenny, first of all, Jenny Smith, because you are a maths teacher.
I am.
That's a good point that Mel raised, and it crossed my mind. Listening to my son there, we talked through the instructions. The language can be so confusing. Just getting your head around, what are they asking me to do in the first place?
Exactly. And I thought you were excellent, actually, Sally, with your son.
Oh, stop it. You're making me blush.
You did exactly the right thing. You let him take you through the problem. You said, right, let's look at the instructions. What do they need us to do? And then you said, let's look for some clues in the question. I think he knew what to do in the first place, though, didn't he?
He's quite bright, is Daniel, when it comes to maths, absolutely. But it is. I mean, it is. You know, this confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I still feel. I mean, that particular one wasn't too bad, but there have been instances where he's brought homework home, and they have to do things like gridding.
Yep.
Right, well, obviously you know what that means, hopefully. But to me, he has to explain to me what gridding is in the first place. I mean, what is that?
Right, well, gridding is a particular way of doing your multiplication, so doing your times tables when the numbers get big. So it's a good way if you like a visual way of laying out your numbers. And it's the way they use in schools now to get them used to understanding why it all works, so why the numbers are what they are. So you might remember the old hundreds, tens and units.
Oh, I remember those.
Does that scare you as well?
No, that's fine. I can cope with that.
Good. And it's just splitting it into those and then seeing what happens to those numbers so that they're really seeing the background and the why it works rather than just a mechanical method. And that's been in vogue in schools for, 15, 20 years. So probably after your and my time. But so it's not just learning a method, it's learning why it works. And I've taught Tara here how to do a gridding method, which I'm sure she'll tell you about.
She's shaking her head and saying no. Tara, how are you finding it as an adult learner of maths, going back to when you were at school? Have you had to adapt again to, the things that you do remember back at school and how things have changed now?
Yeah, things have changed quite a lot, even down to such as timetables. The way that Jenny's taught me is a lot easier in comparison to what I got taught back at school. And obviously it does help a lot more when the children do come home with such as the timetables. But yeah, it has changed. But now we're using calculators, and I found that strange because we didn't have calculators.
We weren't allowed to have them, were we?
So it's all a new learning process.
Absolutely. Why have you decided to relearn maths, if you like, or extend your maths ability?
To get better grades from what I left with from school, to getting better. Then also, my oldest daughter went to secondary school the year before. So it was more to help her, so that I understood, so that she can get better grades and doesn't have to do basically what I'm doing now. I wanted to come out with better grades.
What an amazing mum you are. Wow. Putting all the rest of us to shame, for goodness sake. How great is that, though, Jenny?
Yeah,
that must be wonderful from your point of view, to have someone come along like Tara and say, this is the reason I'm doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, is to help their kids and to help themselves get better grades, so they obviously improve their job prospects, get on courses that need those qualifications. You might have heard about the nursery nurses this morning.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about that later on, actually.
Better level of maths and English. So those are the kind of people we try and help and introduce some of the new methods. But it's not all about those new methods. For a lot of people, it's about just increasing their confidence, doing what they can do, sticking with the old tried and trusted methods as well. So we don't necessarily show them everything new, because that can just confuse them.
So basic skills is what we all need, really.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I'm going to ask you, actually, because you're the team manager for adult English and maths at Derby College. These findings have said 1 in 20 parents aren't able to do the maths for their children aged 8 to 12. Does this surprise you? Because we're not even talking about going into the realms, really, of secondary education. This is just primary maths basics. And only 1 in 20 parents say they can do it. So the rest, the other 19, are struggling. That's quite shocking, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, for us, working with English and Maths with adults for many years, we've realised that this is a big problem. I mean, at the moment at Derby College, we've got a large cohort of over 500 learners brushing up on their English and Maths. The Department of Business Innovation and Skills have said that about a third of men and a third of women participated in further education have got a better job as a result. So I think for those of us who work in the area are aware that people come in through lots of different motivations and are aware there is a really big need out there, and we want to offer help for those.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there is a lot of importance still on the basics, maths and English, isn't there? We'll talk more on this with you all. We'll play a record, though, first here at BBC Radio Derby. If you have had struggles, helping your children, helping your grandchildren, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well this morning. While our guests are here, have a chat with us. 01332, that's Derby 616161. You never know, with these experts sitting right in front of me, maybe they can give you a bit of a helping hand. So give us a call this morning. 01332, that's Derby 616161. Hey, morning, Sally Pepper with you, and we're talking maths. Oh, yes, the dreaded maths that we all, slightly quake about. Even if you're really good at maths, there's always that thing when someone says, right, I'm just going to ask you this. Can you calculate this for me? And oh, grab me a calculator, please. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. Mental arithmetic. So, yes, does it fill you with dread, the idea of helping your children, your grandchildren with the maths homework? Now, of course, Education Minister Liz Truss last week unveiled a shake-up of national tests for 11-year-olds, which will specify that children should learn efficient calculation methods for multiplication and division, with no reference to chunking or gridding. Jenny, our maths teacher, Jenny Smith, can you help me with what on earth does that mean for a start?
Well, we talked a bit about gridding, splitting up your numbers. Chunking is for division. So it's kind of working backwards with division. It's taking lots of things away. So It's like, how many lots of that are there in a big number? How many times can I take it away?
So is it a bit like grouping as well?
Yeah, a little bit like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But you've got to have quite a good grasp of your times tables in order to do that.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy method, even for us quite experienced mathematicians.
We were just chatting off air then about the fact that it's, Tara actually brought up the fact that it's the change in language compared to our day at school, Tara. I mean, we don't even call it maths and English at the moment. It's numeracy and literacy.
Yeah.
So even things like that kind of baffles parents and grandparents, doesn't it?
Mine also, like within the text, instead of using like the actual symbols, they'll write it like multiplication instead of using the symbol. And I think, but that helps them to bring on the reading as well as. So they're learning two different. So
instead of putting the X, they actually write the word.
Yeah, on some questions they will do, which I do think it's a good thing, like I say, because it's helping the reading and their understanding exactly what they are doing.
Yeah, so and the spelling as well.
Yeah. So they are going to do the sum, and also I suppose instead of memorising things by symbols, they can actually read it and put the symbol to what they've read. So I think that's a good way.
I think as well there was a push to make maths more applicable to everyday life. So it did kind of turn to numeracy. That's applying it to things in real life. So rather than just learning your times tables or learning how to do a division, you're actually saying, right, I've got 20 sweets divided by 4 people. How many sweets does each person get? So it's giving it a real life context. And certainly for adults, that's what we do a lot of, isn't it? Yeah. In terms of you're going to be at work looking at your pay slip, or you're going out shopping, working out your percentage or your 3 for 2s or whatever.
Yes.
And it's the things they're going to come up against in real life.
Well, this is true, actually, because a lot of us are guilty of saying, and Jennifer, I'll bring you in on this as well, because, you kind of think, I've done my maths, I've got to get such and such a grade. You have to have that qualification to be able to get any kind of career these days. But then when am I going to need it? When am I going to use all these skills that I've been picking up and I've been learning? But actually, Jenny makes a good point, doesn't she? That we use it without actually even thinking about it half the time.
We use it all the time, and that's the idea of the maths that we'll deliver to adults, which we call functional maths. That's exactly what it is. It helps adults to function. So if you go shopping, for example, in the sales now, you've got 20% off, 75% off if you're lucky. How can you quickly work that out? You're not going to have your calculator in your handbag all the time. So it's looking at those skills, helping adults to function, making it applicable to them.
Yeah, and also, Jenny, I mean, the fact is, in the current financial climate, I see more and more people just going around the supermarket, and they've got little calculators with them, or on their phones.
On the phones, yeah.
And they're working it all out, aren't they?
Yeah.
So actually, for someone like you, there's a slight positive to this awful financial situation we're in at the moment, that people are more and more relying on their maths skills.
Absolutely. I mean, think about things about changing your gas and electricity supplier. How confusing is that?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So having a basic grasp of, multiplying up your money and your pence per unit into pounds and a standing charge or whatever it is on top of that, it does help people say, right, is that a good deal? Is that a sensible amount of money I should be paying as well? A lot of it's about common sense as well. You might use the calculator, but remember, rubbish in, rubbish out. So you've got to think, is that actually a sensible answer to that question as well? And a lot of the time we've also got to explain what our answer means. If you're using maths at work, you might have to show it to somebody else and explain
how you
somebody's got to do it, how you got
Yeah.
to it. You might have to present it in a chart or a table, and we do all that kind of work as well. So
Okay, well, I'm going to get some top tips from you for parents and grandparents who are listening, going, oh, can you just tell us how to keep it simple when we're faced with our children's maths homework and start sweating. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll get the latest travel news, though, first.
BBC Radio.
Maths then, so far this morning, and whether you find it a struggle doing your maths homework with your children, with your grandchildren. Jennifer Raymond is the team manager for adult English and maths at Derby College. Jenny Smith is one of the maths teachers at Derby College, and we've also had Tara Manning, who's one of the adult maths learners, who's putting all the mums to shame this morning because she's doing maths in order to help was it your daughter who's just started secondary school?
5 of them, yeah.
And they're all at secondary school
no,
now, are
the
they?
oldest is at secondary school, so that was my aim, to help her up her grades ready and push her a lot more. But also there's 4 more children that's younger that's in primary school, which will all follow suit soon. So I'm hoping by that point my level 2 will be out of the way and I can just sit and help them, and we'll fly through it, hopefully.
You're like Superwoman. You should have come in with a cape on this morning, honestly. Good for you, Tara. Really
Thank
nice
you.
to hear your story. And Jenny and Jennifer, thank you for coming in today. Jenny, we said you were going to give just a few top tips to parents and grandparents who really struggle with helping with maths.
yeah, and I think it's that struggling thing. It's that thing about thinking, I can't do it, so I can't help them, that actually could get in the way for your kids. So it's really trying not to pass on your trepidation, your fear of maths to your kids. So try and make maths an everyday part of life. So look out for numbers, look out for shapes. When you go shopping, try and work out how much things cost. Talk about the quantities that things come in. And as you did with your son, Sally, try and talk about a problem. If they bring their homework home, obviously, talk through it together, but don't do it for them. The aim is to try and do it together, but don't lead them too much. And also not to show them your way of doing it. Try and get them to tell you how they've been taught.
Yeah, that's quite
Easier
easy to
said
do.
than done.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
You kind of do slip into that and go, oh no, this way's much easier.
Yeah.
Don't. No, big no, isn't it?
No, exactly. It'll only get them confused.
Yeah.
And although you might be a bit confused by their method, there are lots of places to find out a lot more. Obviously, the internet is a great resource. There are special sites for adults doing maths. So a BBC site, Skillswise, is excellent place for adult learners to start. Also, don't shy away from it. There are lots of other places you can go, obviously, to your library, come to a college class yourself, try and get on one of our free classes, and just try and learn together. That sometimes a school will put on a course for parents, so inquire at your school as well. And so there's some things where you actually learn with your children as well. But really it's about the effort that kids make, and it's praising the effort rather than getting the right answer all the time. So as long as they're trying and they keep on trying, that's the main thing with maths. And obviously, use it else you lose it as well. So just keep doing a little bit of maths every now and again.
That's so important with everything, maths and everything, that praise the bits that they get right.
Absolutely.
Don't emphasise the bits that are wrong, because we all learn from our mistakes through life, don't we?
Yeah.
And Jennifer, obviously, Jenny's just mentioned about the free courses that people can get on. So how do we find out more about what Derby College has to offer?
Either by going to the Derby College website. If you go to the website there, you'll see a big sign for English and Maths. If you click on that, that will give you some information about English and Maths. Also by contacting our Adult English and Maths team, which is on Derby 387465. Classes are open to everybody. We have classes at our main site, the Roundhouse, but we also are involved with 14 community venues, so you can also learn within your local area. Classes are open to everybody. You don't need any previous qualifications. All we ask is that you want to learn.
Fantastic. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
I'm glad you didn't test me with any questions. I was starting to get a little bit nervous. I could see Jenny was twitching.
Can do that if you want.
No, it's sorry, we've run out of time, ladies. What a shame.